Hey, what's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm really going to kind of ramble and discuss my thoughts on the Rising of the Shield Hero anime series. And so, for those of you that may not be up to speed, I'll do a quick plot summary. This story is about a land that is under attack from these things called waves. It's where portals open up in the sky and monsters just flow through, causing rampant death and destruction. And this world that's in dire need of help has a king that summons 4 heroes, and they're transported from modern Japan and given the titles of Bow Hero, Sword Hero, Spear Hero, and Shield Hero. And we obviously are going to follow the Shield Hero along his journey, and his name's now Fumi. Alright, so now that I've given you a brief overview of the plot, from here on out, I'm just going to be talking pretty freely about concepts that I like and dislike from the show. So there may be some spoilers. So if you haven't watched it now, you can just cut the video off and come back once you have. I don't think I'm going to talk about too much spoilery stuff, but I just wanted to give the warning just in case. So far, this series has been quite interesting. But one gripe I have is it uses this one method of storytelling that if it's not handled in a certain way, I personally have a pretty adverse reaction to. And that's the trope of having characters have an extreme lack of communication. This trope is often used in stories to facilitate the need for character growth, but when it's used to a sort of extreme, I have a hard time with it. And sometimes it legitimately causes me to get frustrated. And I'll try to explain the setup for the miscommunication and where I feel it stumbles. So the major cause of this miscommunication is from the jump. Now Fumi is criticized for not knowing enough, even though he's literally just been yanked out of everything that's familiar to him and appeared in a strange, unknown world. And then quite quickly, he's falsely accused of some really horrible stuff. And instead of trying to defend himself when he's accused of this stuff, he just leaves and lets the accusers just say whatever they want to. And then he decides he's not going to care about or trust anyone in this world from this point on. This on its own is a fine route to take for a character arc because it kind of puts him at rock bottom and then he has to have growth throughout the series. But the frustration I get with this is often the way those story beats along the way are handled. The thing is, with Naofumi personally, you see him open up and care more about others throughout the series, and he does a lot of good and seems to have really great character growth along the way in this first season. But the other heroes don't get this steady character growth like he does. It's like there's just this big wall of hatred that's shown, and then later on in the series, there are a couple of moments where this extreme hatred breaks and they begin to trust him. But the way it's done, for me, makes it feel too quick, and it feels like if their minds were that easy to change, why did it take so long? And if they weren't that easy to change, why didn't you show a progression of that along the way? That sort of uneven change in a miscommunication story is really where my frustration comes into play. I feel like there needs to be more story beats along the way that really just hint at the coming change. I feel like without that, the characters that you're rooting for and whose journey you're following spend a long time up against this impassable plot wall. And by doing that, the storyteller really kind of runs the risk of losing the audience. I personally feel that in longer running series like television shows or mangas, when you don't have the character have any sort of like moral victories from a thing that started as a hindrance for a long period of time, it really makes you sort of like lose interest, like, oh my goodness, nothing's ever going to happen good for him. And some people will stick with it, but it's just one of those things. I feel like you're taking a risk there. And for me personally, it bothers me when there's not any subtle progression along the way. And that's just for storytelling in general. It's not to do specifically with this one. It's just I noticed that in this show, and it really made me frustrated sometimes. Other than that, and having some weird feelings about the depiction of slavery and false assault accusations, I thought the story told the standard hero's journey tale from a really unique perspective. It's intriguing to have the hero of the tale be a defensive specialist and, for the most part, have to rely on other people around him to slay monsters, win fights, and really have those accomplishments that come along the way in a tale of a hero's journey. The supporting characters like Raphtalia and Philo are really great balances to Naofumi's no-nonsense attitude, and since they do act as kind of a part of that hero that you would be following along in a hero's journey, it's really great that they balance against him so well, and I really liked that. Another thing that intrigued me were the aspects of the curse powers that come from Naofumi's shield. He gets this incredible power, but at the cost of losing control and possibly hurting the few individuals around him that he cares about. That's a really neat wrinkle in this sort of tale. It's not entirely new, like we've seen it in Naruto and countless other shows, but it is uncommon enough that I always enjoy it when I find it in a show or a story. All in all, I'm really interested to see where this goes after the first season. I mean, I know I could read the books, but personally, if given the opportunity, I've always preferred to watch something before reading it, because to me, it's like if I like an obviously truncated form of a world or a story, then I'm really going to enjoy having that story expanded to me later if I go read the books. And I feel like I'm losing something if I go the other way. But some people feel the exact opposite. And you know what? That's totally fine. But for me, I would prefer to stick with the film aspect of it first and then expand outward from there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little exploration into the rising of the Shield hero and some of the concepts and ideas that really stood out to me. And if you did like the video, leave a comment below, like it, subscribe for more of these videos of, whatever may pop into my head that I feel like I want to talk about and share with you all. And thank you so much for your time, and I'll see y'all soon.